Hi, it's Guys UK here again. Another fantastic donation, this time from Andy Tricklebank. So I can't thank you enough, Andy, for sending this. This is really nice. You can see there it's manufactured by Great Valley Products Incorporated. A2000 HC, I can't read that, I'll put it up top left when I've zoomed in a sec. So you can see we've got 8 SIMMs here. It's a combo card, this, so it's got SCSI and memory. Very nice. Now this doesn't work, and I think I know what the issue is. Look at that IC there, it's a little bit green. With any old board like this, it's worth going to the Amiga hardware database. And you can see one of the adverts here, they've got many on this site for this particular product. And a quick look at that advert says state-of-the-art integration packs, GVP high-performance SCSI controller, 8 meg fast RAM expansion, 3.5-inch hard disk drive into a single A2000 expansion slot. Features GVP's new custom chip design, provides DMA performance and unique dual port memory access to fast RAM, eliminating typical DMA side effects under heavy graphical load. That's quite cool. Easy to install, SIMM memory, flexible memory configuration for 0 through 8 meg, supports 6 meg fast RAM configuration for bridge board users. That's quite cool. So I'll just show you what this is doing. We'll connect up the SCSI cable first. It's keyed, so you can only get it on one way. Wear an SD wrist strap when you're handling boards like this, and we'll just plug it in. Now I've tested this a fair bit off camera and it's been intermittent. If you watch the LED here, sometimes it will start to flash, and other times, like I think now, it's not going to flash at all, and it just comes up with the sticky disking screen. It's like it's not detecting it at all. You see an initial flick there when I power cycle it. As I say, it has been working. It worked for a few minutes and then it stopped working, and I think it's corrosion around the IC. I don't know about the RAM. Well, I do know about the RAM roughly, in that it reported 8 meg, so it looks like it's got 8 1 meg SIMMs. I think they're 30 pin, aren't they? But yeah, as you can see at the moment, it's doing nothing. So before I dive in and start reflowing the IC there, I think we'll reseat this ROM because it's just looking really dirty. Actually, the legs look really oxidised on it. I did have to fit 1 or 2 of the jumpers. I think the jumper here was missing, and you stick it left for 7 MHz, right for 14. Interestingly, it was working when I had it on the left position, and then I changed it over to 14. That's when it stopped working. So I don't know, unless something died when I did that. I don't think so. I think it's an intermittent issue. I also had a yellow screen initially, and all I did there was, see the RAM here? It's just do that, wobble, wobble, wobble all the way along, and then the yellow screen problem went away, and it was consistent. Every time it was yellow, as soon as I wobbled the RAM, it went away. Here, can you see how corroded those are? So yeah, look at that, that's awful. So maybe the boot ROM has something to do with this. So I'll get some vinegar in there, we'll have a brush around there. We'll also clean up those legs. So we'll start with the easy bit here, the legs. Well, I'm saying easy. They're looking awful, aren't they? They're cleaning up quite well though here. It's just the tops of them. That bit there's particularly, or that pin there is particularly corroded. Look at the tops though, the top's black. It's looking pretty weathered though. This makes me think this has been stored in a shed or something like that, perhaps. I'm using the wire brush here just to get a little bit more friction. Anyway, that's looking a lot cleaner. I need to do the insides of those legs as well. I've shown this before, the way I tend to do is put it flat like that. It just makes it a little bit easier just using the fiberglass pen here. I need to straighten that leg there, it's a little bit bent, isn't it? So I'll clean the socket there with some vinegar. I'm going to give all of the parts on this a clean with vinegar, like the RAM sockets there. We'll wipe the edge down with some vinegar in a minute and then just wipe over it with IPA. Vinegar, being a mild acid, will just help dissolve anything that's there, basically. On the edge connector, because it's gold. Gold is very inert, or highly inert, so nothing will react with it. The vinegar shouldn't do anything to the gold, I don't think. I'm going to stay away from the quad flat pack over there just for the moment, just to take it a step at a time and see what improves the situation, if anything. Here, we might find it springs back to life just after doing these things here. The nice thing with IPA, obviously, it evaporates, so you can tilt it like that, and it will run off there, flood the you know, wash out the any vinegar that's still under there, and just dry up. So I'll just turn our attention now to the edge connector. As I say, I'm going to wipe over it with a little bit of vinegar initially, and then we'll go over it with some IPA, so you can see the dirt coming off, and that shouldn't do anything to the gold coated you know, gold plate in there. An eraser obviously is something to consider using on that as well. It will do the same thing really. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. Now we will just wipe over that with some IPA in a sec as well. I wouldn't want to leave the chance of any vinegar still being on there. I'm really tempted to clean around that ASIC at this stage with a fiberglass pen, but I think we'll just test it that way, and we'll just see what happens with that now. So it's just the same there. It flashes on initial reset and then nothing else. And if you leave it for, I don't know, 20-30 seconds, it comes up with a sticky disk in screen. As you can see, now what we can do is we can power cycle it, hold down both mouse buttons, and hold them down, hold them down, hold them down. Hang on a minute, we've got yellow screen again now. That's interesting. So yeah, there's clearly something going on with this card, isn't there? Not doing it now on a yellow screen. It could be bad connections, but anyway, if we do expansion board diagnostics, can you see there? Both are listed as working. So yeah, it's a bad connection or something somewhere, I think. So I think the next thing we should do is turn our attention to this IC. It's really dull and it looks corroded up here. So yeah, I think we'll turn our attention to this next. We'll just go over it carefully with the fiberglass pen here, both the top of the pins there and on the bottom, and just clean up with a bit of vinegar and IPA again, and then retest. You can see how much better that side is there though. Look at that one, that's awful. So I cleaned around all the surface mount chips here with the fiberglass pen. I'm just using a bit of vinegar, and then we'll get some IPA in there just the same way. You can see how much better that is though, it's looking almost new. I'm hoping it is that. The other thing that did cross my mind is, you know, remember I changed the clock thing over. It looks like the clock is maybe coming from here. You've got an F86, maybe the clock's going through that. It looks like it goes to the jumper there. Woohoo! Works at 7, it's sulky at 14. I'll perhaps show you that. Let me just power it off, I'll change it over to 14, you'll see we get some errors as it's booting. So we're at 14 now. In fact, it's been sulky full stop, isn't it? So maybe we haven't fixed it. Let's just try power cycling it again, because it's not doing anything this time. You see that initial flash, and then it should go flash, 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 and it's not doing. Oh, it is doing now. It's definitely sulkier in the 14 MHz position. Yeah, look. You see that? So that's what's happening, and that happens very early into the boot process, when it's set to the 14 MHz position. I mean, maybe the disk controller on here is not very good. This one, if I can find a PLCC replacement, then we can swap it. So back on 7 MHz, you will see we get more activity. That's normal for it to go off there, and then it should start flickering again like that. By now it would have errored already, and it hasn't done. It's nearly there. Flashy, flashy. There we go. So it works perfectly at 7 MHz. For some reason, with the SCSI to SD here, it won't work at 14 MHz. So I mean, it could be some incompatibility between the SCSI to SD and this device, or it could be the chip on there. You know, the controller chip. It's what is it? A 93C something. I'll show you in a sec. You can see the SCSI controller there. Not all of these chips are the same, although this one's an AMD one. It's probably a good one that should run at 14. There might be other reasons why it's not running very well with this 2000. At the point where this video was filmed, my 2000 was still lacking a few mods that brought it in line with later boards, and I found the reliability improved a lot actually with later revisions on the 2000. So that might be a factor as well, but also the SCSI to SD was a bit pants with this. So I've tried it with and without the DTAC jumper set. That's not made any difference. What this does is it puts something like 1K, I can't remember exactly, but it puts resistance on the DTAC pin. If just in case you've got one of the older boards, say the very first 2000 that came out, because that was it had a crazy size resistor, if one at all actually, on DTAC, and that was subsequently lowered, that resistance, on the later revisions of the 2000. So that's what this jumper's for here. You can enable it, and it provides a bit, it lowers the resistance on the DTAC pull up, is it? Try and pull it up really quick. One thought did cross my mind when it's in 14 megahertz mode. Maybe it needs an 030, because maybe it's responding faster than the standard 68000 can keep up with, or something like that. I think it's unlikely, but I have read of situations where there are some boards out there that need a specific clock speed. So let's try that with an 030, see what difference that makes. Now the thing that might complicate matters here is my 030 has got 2 meg of RAM on board, and this board has got 8 meg of RAM. So I'm not sure it's going to boot at all due to that conflict. Not doing anything now, is it? Yeah, it was doing exactly the same thing with the 030 there. I've set it back to 7 megahertz, and again it's booting. So I need to do a bit more research. At this stage I'm guessing it's got a sulky controller chip on there. You never know, maybe it had a hard life, maybe it was driven at 14 megahertz for much of its life. It's only showing 2 meg. The memory on the GVP card seems to have been disabled. There's got to be a clash somewhere with that memory, I think. I set it to 6 meg so that it would coexist with the 2 meg on the other board there. I mean, what I could do is disable the memory on the 030 board, the A2630. And actually the corrosion around those chips probably wasn't the issue with the SCSI, it's that jumper. I've just worked out the boot jumper there, it slides on there really easily, like not making a connection. So as you can see, I just bent the pins out slightly and I just pulled it upwards to make a nice snug fit, and it is actually booting now. Disabling the RAM on the A2630 there, that works, and gave me 8 meg. I bumped the other board back up to 8 meg there, the GVP. So you can see we've got 8 meg and then 1 meg chip in this board. Now I do think it's performing a bit slower than the A2091. So I think the next thing we need to do is get this RAM out and clean up the SIMMs and the SIM slots, because it is giving me some intermittent issues. Occasionally get a yellow screen. It might not be that, it could be these, they're intermittent, but the RAM seems to be the issue, because I wobble it a little bit, then retry and then it's alright. Whereas I can get consistent issues until I do that. I'm not really sure how to remove these. I probably once knew how to do this, but it's like your little tab there, you've got to just press it down a little bit and then try and pull the SIM up. There we go, it's come out now. Not as intended. That's it. Well, it appears the easy way to do this is get a screwdriver through the hole there and just gently lift like that. What happens is the little notch on the other side just pulls out. As you can see, no worries, nearly there. There's a bit of fluff or something there, that won't have been helping. So the same thing as before, a cap of IPA here, and I'm just going to have a brush. They look pretty clean actually, those. It's more likely to be the contacts on the SIMMs that need a bit of a clean. There's a bit of fluff or something there, let's see if we can get that out to there. I'm kind of reluctant to use a cotton bud here because I'll get fibres on it. I'll have to inspect this in a second. Just for good measure, I'm going to use some hot 100 degrees here. The other thing I could do, and I may do, is just go over these gently with a fiberglass pen, actually, and then just blow any dust away. What I mean is, just like that. More or less. You have to go from both angles because obviously you've got two sides to these, but you will get fiberglass dust on there. That's one reason I dried it first. I don't want that moisture making the bits of fibre stick there. The SIM contacts are all in really good condition. They're all gold plated and they all look very clean, so I'm just going to use IPA and nothing else on these. You can see a bit of dirt's come off there, look. Ouch at that one, that's got a couple of solder blobs on it, look. That's really mysterious. I mean, it's been working that way. I'm inclined to just get a little bit of desolder braid on there. It will mean, though, that those two gold pads are no longer gold plated. So, don't know, I might just leave that as it is, I think. So after cleaning up the slots there on the GVP, you can see it's working fine. We're on pass number 8. It's gone through the whole 9 meg address range there, no issues at all. And it's been rock solid since it did those things. So I think we're 100% on this card. It's perfect. We'll clean the PCB up. Can you see? It's got all smeary fingerprints and things. But also this over here is loose. Let me show you. Yeah, can you see it's wobbling? So we'll just tighten up these hex nuts here with a little tool. It's a question of, is the plastic... Oh no, it's alright. I wondered if the plastic had broken, but it hasn't. That's tightened up quite nicely. Let's do that one as well. Yeah, not too tight. Yeah, that's nice and sturdy now. We'll clean up the shielding part on that as well, and just wipe that down with a little bit of IPA. It's just a bit oxidised, and you're going to get a worse connection if that's not nice and clean. We'll just wipe the PCB here with a bit of IPA. Sometimes this green solder mask will come off, you'll get a little bit of a green tinge, but yeah, it seems alright. Yeah, there we go, that's looking a lot better. It's a nice glossy green solder mask they've got on these. Yeah, so the tracer's there, maybe just need a bit of a wipe. But I think overall that's come out really well. The chips are a lot cleaner there. I mean, you can see, I still need to do more cleaning around this because the extended area, look, you can see around there looks nice and shiny and glossy, and the extended area isn't. So I'll go over that with cotton buds in a minute. I think the next thing I might do is just dump this ROM, see what version it is, see if we can upgrade it.
So thanks to Castellan on Amiga.org, he shared the GVP HC+8 SCSI ROMs that he had, the latest ones I think. There seem to be two there, there's 4.15 and 4.5. And he used the TL866 to read the original ROM first of all. It was an older version, and the chip type is a 27C256. So I erased the EEPROM in my ultraviolet eraser, and then programmed it up with a later ROM.
So just testing the card against the 536, that's got 64 meg of RAM in the Zorro 3 space, and the SID card, you may have seen the video for that. We did some modifications to get that working on an A2000 or an A500, and that works fine as well. If I load the SID play, you can see the memory at the top there. I've tested the full memory range there, I've tested all of the Zorro 3 on the 536 and all of the Zorro 2 on Liv's card. And there's no clashes. The RAM tests out alright, and everything works fine, and obviously the SID card works. I'll show you that. As you can see, fantastic. In addition to the SID card video, actually, one thing I didn't show is if you click on that question mark there, just listen, switches the Amiga filter off, stays off whilst you're actually using it. So yeah, you can switch the Amiga filter off that way. Kind of sounds better with it on, but it's clearer without it on. You can tell it's definitely clearer there. Anyway, yeah, I'm very pleased because I can use that with the Liv 2 card now without an issue. Yeah, you know, one thing I've noticed about this GVP, and I noticed the same thing on the video you've not seen yet on that GVP combo, I think this can generate a reset itself. Because now I've got the SID card in there, I can hear when there's a reset going on. Just listen. One reset. Oh, maybe not. It's just I heard a second reset a minute ago. Oh, you heard it there then. Now I saw the bands come down the screen as if the 536 had booted. It's hit the SCSI. I've got the DTAC jumper off at the moment actually, and it's come up with a guru. Let me just click, see what happens. It hit the IDE, it's looking at the SCSI, the floppy drive. I think it's booting. So it would seem that this is one of the instances where I think this GVP needs... Is it still booting? Yeah, it is, I can hear it clicking. I think the GVP, the DTAC jumper, that's where it is useful. That's the only scenario I've found where that seems to make a difference actually. So we've got SCSI and IDE there. These are all the SCSI drives. That's IDE. There's going to be an overlap, I think, actually, thinking about this. I think the drive IDs are probably the same. I've got like two DH0s, two DH1s, so not all my IDE drives have shown up. One of them has, the others haven't. So I'd need to go into HD Toolbox and change the the ID, the volume name, if you like, of these some of these drives. Let's just see if a game will work off here, though. Let's load EK from the desert. And now that's hung. That's the same exact problem that you have with the A2091 and the 536, actually. So it's probably the same thing. It's something I was talking about earlier, that it's probably trying to DMA into the 03 RAM. That is probably the issue there. Yeah, so I temporarily swapped over to the stock 68K. So I got the GVP, the 8 meg Gotta Go Fast RAM card, and the SID card. And woohoo, it's booted. Yeah, so we got 8 meg from Live2's card there, so that's working great. And we've got our graphics memory. Won't be able to use the SID card with the stock 68K. I'm actually thinking about this. Yeah, I haven't got the card in there because it's on the 536. This is the SCSI, so yeah, the SCSI's worked fine there. I guess I could load a game or something just to make sure that's working. Let's try Ghosts and Goblins. So yeah, that's working fine with the GVP. So great job there, Liv. It seems compatible without an issue. So the ultimate test here, we've got the 536 that you've seen in a previous video. This motherboard was repaired in a previous video. Then we've got the GVP, and then we've got the 8 meg Gotta Go Fast RAM card, and we've got the SID card, and it's booting from SCSI. So this is a few minutes later. The LED's just stuck on, so that's not working. I think the issue here is the 536, actually. Well, not necessarily the 536, it's the GVP trying to do a 24-bit DMA into this higher priority 03 RAM, despite the fact we've got the Live2 Gotta Go Fast RAM card in here. Without this, without the 536, it does all work. I could prove that point, I guess, by putting the TF520. Go on, let's do that. Let's put a 520 in here. And I think that'll boot, actually, because, well, it may or may not do. It depends whether the 520's happy with everything that's in here, but let's give that a try. So this is what I like about tinkering with all these different boards and stuff. I found a combination that works here, actually. Enabling the 8 meg on this board with the 520, it is actually booting. I just heard it. I can hear it now, still seeking the floppy drive, so it is actually booting. So yeah, the GVP works really well with the TF520. It does work with the Live Gotta Go Fast RAM when you're using a stock 68,000, or I think we tested the 536, didn't we? No, we didn't. It didn't work with the 536 either. So this is the thing, you know, different combinations of things can cause you different problems. But trust me, I had it in different slots. I moved this into different slots. I tried the D-TAC jumper there. Nothing made any difference. But having reinstated the RAM on this, so it's using the 8 meg on the GVP, and that is working fine with the 520. I'll show you desktops up, as you can see. I think you need to have the GVP SCSI driver on there, because I've had this before. I'll show you. Whilst it boots, let me show you what happens. And I'm sure I've seen this before, because it's ages since I've messed around with this card, actually. Sysinfo, everything runs. I'll load a game or something in a sec just to show you that. But if you go into the drive bit, as soon as you click on a drive, just watch this, it'll hang. And I think it's something to do, look, it's hung, and then it'll reset. Something to do with that SCSI driver. If you've not got the SCSI driver on there, the proper GVP one, and it's using just SCSI.device, I think you get problems like that with some software. I suspect a game will work. Let's try Beast Busters. Yeah, so I find it super interesting that the disc benchmark there can bomb it out. Let me just turn it down, that's a bit loud. But yeah, it does work. I may report back, because I think what I'm going to do is get a SCSI, to SD card for this, or SD to SCSI, whatever it's called, and set it up with the GVP driver, and we can perhaps retest that then to see what sort of speed it's coming out at. I forgot what the grenade button is. I thought it was the right click, but maybe I've not got any grenades right now. I have. It must be key, space, is it, or... I'm not sure how I did that grenade a minute ago. Oh, it's that, yeah. It's left alt, I think. Oh, sorry, left shift. Yeah, left shift does it. It's weird how they didn't put it on the second button. I always thought it was funny here, the size difference. Look, how they come out of the train, they're really small. But the ones in the windows have got giant heads. No attention to detail. Yeah, so at this point I set up a dedicated BlueSCSI card for this. There'll be a separate video on that, just a short video covering the build, some of the setup and stuff. But anyway, fast forwarding through this section here, because I did an awful lot on the new bench with the BlueSCSI and some various combinations of things to try and get to the bottom of the freeze on sysinfo and the reset/freeze when you try to do things when the 536 is in there. At this point here, you'll see I'm copying a vast amount of data from the 536 IDE to the BlueSCSI, and it works. Deselecting, and then yeah, I always do this. You've got to hold a key down, haven't you? So you drag the thing over the whole lot, and then try holding down shift, and drag it in there. Yeah, so it's copied 240 mega data so far. It must be near the end now. Something I thought I'd just mention here. This is a change. There's two different things to mention actually. It's had the DTAC fix, so I think there's like a 470 ohm resistor on the DTAC and on the, is it VPA? I think it is on here, to bring this Rev 4 board in line with the Rev 6 point whatever. Yeah. The other thing is it's got ALS chips on. The Zorro Data Bus Buffers ALS chips. That's exactly the same thing that I did on the Rev 6 board. I did it on here to rule out some problems with other cards and things. You know what? And these boards just run so much better with ALS chips there, regardless of whether it's a Rev 6 or a Rev 4. So, are those providing me any additional stability that you may not have? I don't know. Just bear that in mind. If you get one of these GVP cards and you're having problems with SCSI or RAM or whatever, do consider swapping those with ALS chips. And they've also got the resistor arrays on the underside. I'll perhaps show you the size of those in a minute, but I've got exactly the same mods to my other Amiga 2000s, the other two, my case Amiga 2000 and the Rev 6 board. And the interesting thing is the RAM's gone down to 55 meg, yeah, as it's still doing the copy. So it can't just be DMAing into Zorro 2 RAM, because we've only got 8 meg of Zorro 2 RAM. It has to be using more of that RAM there. It's got to be using some of the Zorro 3 RAM. So, not sure. I mean, it's been taking a while. That could explain it being in PIO mode, but it has copied quite a lot. 494 megs so far. It's got to be getting near the end. I don't remember the time gal being this big. Went through the 5 discs for 2.1 install. It's hitting the SCSI. It should hopefully now boot from that. Drive's doing its tick thing. There we go. So that's worked. Fantastic. I've got an old folder there. There's nothing in there. Yeah, I think it's actually an upgrade version, so I mean, hopefully it's copied everything there that I need. It's not like missing stuff because it's an upgrade. Let's see if sysinfo will run now. No issues there, but I guess it's going to flake out here again. Yeah, frozen the system. Yeah, and after removing the 536 and just using a straight 68K, TimeGal works. And we're not getting the little hiccups it was having before when I was using the SD to SCSI. So the SCSI would seem to be faster here. Let's just quit out of that if I can. Right, let's now try sysinfo, because you know what? I reckon it's not going to freeze now. I think this is all about the 536 and the Zorro 3 RAM. So let's go. Drives. QVH0. There we go, it's come straight up. Didn't freeze. Speed. Let's see what that gives us. So what is it about the 536? How did it do that transfer? Yeah, they got 830k, so it's not especially fast, is it? It's not especially fast. How did it manage to copy all that data though? 500 megabytes of it from the IDE card to the SD card on the BlueSCSI. If there was a DMA issue.
This is the thing I'm having a hard time trying to get my head around. And then why does the problem present itself only when you load something from that drive, but it's able to boot from the drive? That doesn't make any sense either. You can boot from it, but then when you try and run something from it once it's booted, then it freezes. Because what I don't get with this combination here, and it was the same sort of thing with the 2091, I think, how can it boot from SCSI without any issues, and then you only get a problem with the SCSI when you try and do something in Workbench? So it's like something's changed with memory management or something. It's like when you boot up, it's going, oh, I'll use the Zorro 2, Zorro 2, Zorro 2, booted, oh, we've got some Zorro 3, let's start using that. Is that the issue? I don't know. I mean, I could try the memory priority thing again, but you know what, when you run out the Zorro 2, you're into the Zorro 3 anyway. So we'll try sysinfo, and again, if it freezes completely, hang on. And this is the thing, loading that didn't freeze, did it? This is, I'll show you in a minute how this is a bit odd. That drive, completely frozen the system this time. Press the reset button. Yeah, so you wouldn't want to use this with the 536. I'm not entirely sure I'm remembering correctly with the 2091 now. I feel like I need to get the 2091 back in here with the 536 to prove that completely, because I'm darn sure I got my 536 working with it at some point, but it was in PIO. I think you had to disable the RAM, so I think that was the case. We could in theory remove or disable the RAM here and test with the 536 that way. You know, it's going to be in PIO. I presume this falls back to PIO mode, just the same way that the A2091 does. Yeah, there's so many boot loops. Yeah, so this is the thing. So now we got that far. Let's just try actually loading a game. Yeah, so this is the thing, it does actually work. It works along the TF520, but sysinfo obviously freezes, and the HD partition software freezes and then doesn't recover, I think. Yeah, I don't have joystick connected. Anyway, that works. So drives. So we'll do one of the IDE drives first. So 4.5 meg roughly, and then the SCSI down here, DS0. Look, it's frozen again. And you can see I fitted the 4.15 ROM there, stuck a nice label on it as well. And as you can see, using the harness here from Dennis Retro Gaming Revival, absolutely brilliant. They've got two of these, got the green one on booting boots, and it looks really well with the colour of the green PCB there, and I stuck the white one on here. And as you can see, I've now got a BlueSCSI in here. There'll be a separate video on assembly and testing of this actually, although it's, you know, it's shown briefly here in this video. So a massive thanks to Andy T. He sent this just after I lost my job back in 2019, and it's a long time, you know, getting around to edit it. It was filmed in 2020 during COVID actually, because, you know, COVID started just after I lost my job. It was like Armageddon. That's what it felt like. I'd lost my job and then I was faced with COVID just after I landed a part-time job working for my friend Simon, which is great, and he's, you know, I've been doing that ever since. But yeah, I don't earn anywhere near as much as I used to do, and you know, part of my income is YouTube, hence why I'm working 24/7 on YouTube. Anyway, this was really incredible for him to send this, and it's solid, it's totally reliable. I still haven't had much success at 14 megahertz. I guess it's this chip or the types of SCSI drives that I'm putting on this, and obviously it was missing loads of jumpers. The ROM was awful, the socket was awful, and there was lots of greeniness around there, and it was just about oxidization. There was nothing like leaked onto it, nothing like from a battery or a cap or anything like that. And there are very few caps on there. The ones that are on there are tantalums, look, you know, these go short. In fact, there's only that one on there, isn't there? I don't see another one on it. Yeah, and obviously it's missing the back plate, I think. It would have had a plate that comes down here. So, you know, I might deal with that at some point. You know, you've got an external SCSI connector here, so that you can connect up external devices. And I've got another video coming up where we'll look at some external SCSI devices, and I think I may test this with those as well, so it's not the last time you'll see this card. So I do hope you found the video interesting. If you'd like to support the channel, keep the channel going, much appreciated. Please see the Coffee and Patreon links down below. I'll catch you in the next video.